Welcome back to another episode of Be in Demand. And today we're going to be talking a little bit more about exposure and visibility. And especially if you're just getting started, whether you're taking a pivot in your business, technology has forced you to change, life circumstances made you change directions, and you feel like you're starting from scratch with a new audience. That's what this episode is going to be all about. So let's get on to the show. Okay, when I talk about exposure and visibility, they kind of mean the same thing, because it's about being seen and it's about getting known. So I'm not necessarily talking about you being on a stage, but it's all of that networking, building up who you need to know, building up the people the connections that are going to help you get from point A to point B, but also who can you help along the way? Because if nobody knows who you are, nobody can refer you. If nobody has met you or had a conversation with you, they're not going to know anything about you or even the depth or what you are all about. What do you stand for? So that's what I really want to dive into today, is about this kind of visibility. A lot of this networking, this is that unglamorous stuff that we all do. As coaches, consultants, speakers, if you are working in corporate, if you're what I call a careerist, you still need to get known, because you're the only one who's going to be responsible for your personal brand. And in order to get promoted, in order to move up in the corporate arena, whether that's in the company that you're working for, or if you want to get recruited to a higher level, more responsibility position in another company, you still got to get known. So that's mostly what I want to talk about today, because it would be like trying to find the person of your dreams, that man or woman that you want to spend the rest of your life with. And you're sitting on the couch expecting them to knock on your door. Just not going to happen. You have to get out there. You have to let people know that you are available to date. You have to get seen in other environments where you would have the potential to meet that ideal person. So then you can get to know that person and then start dating, and then hopefully then maybe walk down the aisle. So if you're sitting on the couch, I know that sounds a little ridiculous, but this is what a lot of people do when they start their own business. They expect it to come to them. Now, when I was in healthcare, and I was just having this conversation with one of my clients who's a physician, and I was sharing with her, that I am teaching her how to go from being a doctor. She's very good at being a doctor, but I'm teaching her how to think as a marketer. And because I can relate to, I walked into the hospital when I worked in a hospital, and somebody handed me, here's your patient list, here's your schedule today. So I would have 8 patients that I was doing exams on. I didn't have to go and look for these clients, these customers, these patients. They came to me, somebody did all the bookings for me, and all of a sudden then I found myself in the entrepreneurial world. And that whole phrase of, if you build it, they will come. Yeah, that doesn't really work. And I know that, and I'm sort of poking fun of it, but when you're in the midst of it, I don't know how to do something, well, guess what? You have to go figure out how to do it. I think back to how I got into my major at college, how I got the job, my very first hospital job. I was quite the little go-getter. So when I came out of corporate and found myself as an entrepreneur, I knew that I had to do things differently. I had to be okay with being uncomfortable. I had to get known. So I did sort of fall into some of my strengths, some of the areas that I was comfortable with. So one of the things was, I started going to networking events, and I would meet some of the same people at these networking events. And one of the things about one of these networking events, it was a great it always had a great showing. Lots of people from lots of different industries. And we sort of approached, me and couple of the other women, approached the person who was running these and just said, you almost need some ambassadors. Somebody who, when somebody walks in the door, it's like, here's what I do. Here's who I want to meet. Like, we'll be your ambassadors to help those people, like connect them together. So we would walk them to somebody and just introduce, hey, the two of you need to meet. Why would I do something like this? One, it got me in a place where I was uncomfortable. I'm doing something different. I'm doing something new. And that was putting me in an environment where like I had to constantly introduce myself and then be, like the hostess, hey, you two need to meet. And who else do you need to meet? So I was responsible for having these conversations with people, but also it put me in a position to meet everybody who was attending this event. So we volunteered to help this gentleman make his networking events even better. And at the same time, it put me in a position where I was able to meet a whole lot of other people. This is something that I also did when I started getting into the speaking world. When I started to attend National Speakers Association meetings, what I did was I showed up early. And I would ask the woman, and she was actually part of the association. She was actually paid staff, and she would be checking people in. And I got there early and just like, hey, how can I help you? Can I help check people in? Is there anything that I can do for you? Because knowing that if I was checking people in, then I'm meeting all the other attendees, all the other members of National Speakers Association, the speakers, that are the people who are speaking at that meeting. It just got me the opportunity to meet more people and just start having that conversation about what do you do? How did you get into this? Then people started asking me what I did. And it got me to actually really refine how I was introducing myself. So my elevator pitch got better and better every single time that I used it. And a lot of times what I hear a lot of people doing is, I want to get this perfect first. Well, let me tell you something. There is no such thing as perfect. And whatever your perfect elevator pitch is, it's not the right elevator pitch for everybody. One of the things that I've always said to my clients is you always want to have like 2 or 3 elevator pitches in your back pocket, because depending on if somebody is somebody who could refer you or somebody who could hire you, you want to have those different elevator pitches so that it suits that person. And so what does that require? That does require that you need to ask them, so what do you do? And you kind of need to ask that first. But I'm sort of that person that I want to be giving more than receiving. So I want to find out more about that person first than I do want to start, like sharing about like, here's what I do and here's how I got here. I'm always so interested in other people's paths and how they got to where they are. So a lot of times I would ask speakers like, what did you do before this that prepared you for this particular phase of your life? So that was one thing. I also, going back to the networking, I also disliked going to networking events. If I'm totally honest, I felt a little awkward, even though I was putting myself in these positions so that I would get over this awkwardness. But at first I was very awkward having these one-on-one conversations. And how do you start a conversation? And how, like, if you're just kind of finished a conversation, how do you break into another like group of people who are having a conversation, and make it seem so natural. So I really did dislike doing that. I disliked that one-on-one. And what if I ended up talking to somebody else who was also awkward? So one of the things that I share with my clients, and this was something that I came up with years ago, was if you take on the role again, sort of putting yourself in that position, if you can't volunteer, but what if you could take on the persona of the host or the hostess? So if you are the host or the hostess, then that means your job is to go around and make sure that everybody's having a good time. And at a networking event, like I would do that and make sure that other people met other people, because I knew how I felt, especially if I was new, hoping that like, God, could somebody just introduce me? So I became that person who would, hey, have you met such and such? And I would just naturally just connect other people. So the other way that I got to meet more people was by being the speaker in the front of the room. By being the speaker in the front of the room, I would then at the end of my presentation offer to people that if you have a question or you want to discuss something, please see me in the back of the room. So what would happen is that the right people would come and see me. Now I'm telling you the story for a couple of reasons. One, as the speaker, it got me off the stage, off the spotlight, and the right people would come to me instead of me having to like break into conversations. Again, remember, I was that awkward shy girl trying to overcome all of these habits that I had, teaching my nervous system new tricks. So that was one thing. And the second reason I want to share that with you is that if you're an attendee, and you want to get more, again, I'm talking about exposure and visibility and just getting known, building your network, is to approach the speaker. Let them know how much you enjoyed their presentation. Again, just being, super real and super authentic. What did you specifically like about the presentation? Maybe you have a question for them. But if you stand up there afterwards, because there's usually a crowd around the speaker. I know this, as an attendee and also as being the speaker. And it's a great place to meet other people. This was something that I kind of stumbled upon years ago. And I just realized, like, as a shy girl, I was just like, this is the place to be after a presentation, is just to kind of come up, talk to the speaker, and then more people would just kind of come up. And then, like, there are some great conversations that are happening in that front of the room or in the back of the room, wherever the speaker happens to be. So again, we're just talking about like building your network. Another interesting volunteer story. This happened years ago. I happened to be down in Florida, and I knew I was going to be down there for an extended period of time. And Tony Robbins was doing one of his UPW, Unleash the Power from Within programs that was near me. And I thought, well, let me see if they need any more volunteers, because once you go through the program, you can then assist or volunteer at a future program. And a lot of people do this. So I volunteered, got there early, did all the training that they have to do. I mean, there's a lot that goes into his events. So be nice to those volunteers. And so now they're trying to divide up all this room, this crowd of volunteers, because there's all these different spots that they need help with. And they literally like broke everybody up. And I can't remember why, but I somehow walked into the room a little bit late, me and a couple of other people. So now we weren't assigned to any particular section. So we were just like, so what do you want us to do? And they said, oh, well, okay, you guys go downstairs to the platinum room. So the platinum room was actually a room where all the VIPs would come in, so that they actually had access to just like walk out a door, and they would be close to the front of the stage. These are the VIPs, so and the platinum people were actually people that were paying about $75,000 to be a part of this particular group of people that would have access to Tony Robbins. And so I got access to these people. I got to introduce myself to them. I got to make sure that I was like that face, that smile, that, greeted them. Talk about hospitality, that to me, that's what my job was. But I was volunteering, and I accidentally got to go and be with the platinum people. So that was a lot of fun. Again, just volunteering, doing a really good job at volunteering, going above and beyond. And it's a great way to network and meet other people. And then I also got to, while I was at this event, help people like with bathroom breaks, like, let me cover your table, let me help you out. Again, these are just great ways to get visible and build your network. And again, just like I said in the beginning, this is some of that unsexy stuff that people don't want to do, but it really does build a foundation to your business and to your personal brand. So more about when you're at these events and you're starting to meet people. And I'm a big endorser of don't have an agenda. It's not like I got to make sure that I meet the right type of people so that I can like pitch myself to them. No, just what if you're just having great conversations, building friendships? Because that's what networking is. It's those kind of connections. Yes, it's probably going to come up. Hey, what do you do? What brought you here to this conference or this event? I know somebody who went to that school or who lives in that area. And again, like you're just building your network. Make sure you go to the breakfasts, the breakout sections, the breaks, the cocktail hours, because this is where like people just kind of like, they take their hair down, they're just kind of like relaxing and they're talking about the event and they're just mingling. If you're not the sort of person who feels comfortable approaching other people, then stand by the coffee, because people are going to come and get coffee and be like, hi, how are you? And you could spark up a conversation. So if it's a cocktail hour, stand relatively close to the bar. I would also suggest, because again, that's like a common place that people are going to be coming up to, and you might spark up some more conversations. In-person meetings and conferences are making a huge comeback. And it's not just a necessity, but just getting in front of people. We're human beings. We are designed to be in front of other people. We are just designed to have those kind of connections. So make the best of attending those sort of situations. Maybe it's not something that you normally do. You would rather, like, especially after the past few years, we've developed some new habits. Oh, I think I would rather just be in the virtual audience. I'll just be over here in the side like a fly on the wall. Like, do something different. Fly across the country and go attend that conference. I have several events that are on my calendar this year already. And some of them are very high ticket. And I did that specifically for a reason, because different people show up for these high ticket events. And I want to be in the room with those people. I just recently, a couple of weeks ago, was part of Laura Belgrave's book launch, her first book, and it's a memoir. And I went to New York City for the book launch party that I was invited to. I bought a number of copies, so I got to meet a lot of these other people that were also helping with her book launch. Again, being in the room and getting to know other people. It's not scary. I mean, we make it out to be something scary, but again, this is building that foundation to your personal brand and just getting known, because a lot of those people could become referral agents once you build up those relationships with them. And a lot of these people that were at this book launch were a lot of from the online world. So these could become potential affiliates for me and my programs as well. So just a few more things about those in-person events. When it is a break, don't pull out your phone. I want to suggest that you actually just turn your phone off so that you can't hear the bings, so that you can't feel the vibrations from the text messages, so you don't feel inclined to look down at it. If you can leave it in the car, go leave it in the car. I'm going to leave that up to you. The reason why I'm making this suggestion is because what people have a tendency to do is, like, I feel awkward. I don't know anybody here, so I'm going to look busy by picking up my phone and pretending like I have got these text messages or emails that I must respond to. And all it's doing is, like, you're putting your head down, you're not making any eye contact with people, and so you can't approach anybody, and nobody's going to approach you. So that's the other reason why I'm suggesting just, like, put your phone away in the hallways, like, meet other people. Don't wait for them to say hi to you. Say hi first, because everybody's wondering, oh, I wonder if like they're approachable, so have a smile on your face. The little lavaliers, the little plastic casings. It's a great place to put your business cards. Yes, people still do use business cards. It's a great place to hold the other business cards that you collect and also to have yours on hand. So it's just easy to hand them out. What else? Oh, if you normally go to the gym while you're at the conference, go work out. You'll be surprised at the other people that you will meet there. And there was a conference that I went to, and I learned this from a woman that I met at this conference. And she had certain pairs of shoes that, like, really high stilettos that were part of her brand. And also, she also had like platinum blonde short hair. So she also had a very particular style. So in the gym, when her and I were working out, like somebody said, I saw you yesterday. You had the most amazing pair of shoes. And he was like, it was a conversation starter. So it also reminded me to like always look your best when you go to these conferences. You just never know who you're going to meet and who you're going to want to end up taking a picture with. Like you could take pictures like with the speakers. And give more than you receive. This kind of goes back to we don't have an agenda, but I love to connect other people. As soon as I meet one person, it's just like, I'm always thinking, who can I connect them with? And I'll always ask them, who do you need to meet? What sort of people do you need to meet? Is there somebody in particular that you want to meet? Because I might know them, and let me make that introduction. One of the things that I have shared with you is that when you're on somebody's podcast is to also at the end, is to ask them, like, what kind of guests do you want on your show? Like, I know a lot of people. I've had a lot of clients who've gone through my program. So I know a lot of different coaches and consultants, and speakers and authors, that I can connect with podcast hosts. And the same thing is true for when I'm meeting somebody at a conference. It's always like, how can I help you? Who do you need to meet? I want to give more than I'm taking. And the other thing is also just to respect everyone. And I know that this is probably something that you do, but it's that shy person that's in the back of the room that probably is like, this is their first meeting. I remember my first National Speakers Association meeting. And I remember the very first conference that I went to here in Boston for the local chapter. Like, there's a conversation that I had with somebody that it wasn't a pleasant conversation. She made a comment about my story, and not that I wanted to speak about my story, but she made a comment, and I've always remembered that. And it's really made me really think about, like, respect everyone. You don't know people's stories. It could be their very first time at this meeting, at this conference, at this event, at your association. Be kind to everybody, because somebody raised their hand and just said, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go to this meeting. Even though I'm shy and I don't know anybody, I'm still going to go. And I'm going to just because they had some sort of internal intuitive nudge that they need to go there. And those hotel people, the hotel employees, that are making sure that your room is just so, that your conference room is just so, that there's water, the media people, the AV people. I mean, like, just be nice to all of them, because their jobs are hard. Everybody's job is hard. And I come from the point of view of, I just want to believe that everybody is doing their best. And one of the things from when I worked in a hospital, I mean, I have some great stories from working in a hospital, but because I would typically be on call, I would run into the cleaning staff and to be nice to them. I just loved fooling around with them and having a good time and joking around with them. And it warmed my heart when I would walk in and they would say hi first. I'm like, I don't know their story, and I don't know if a lot of people are, respectful of the cleaning people, but guess what? They make that place shine so that the next day when we all come to work, those patients, they are coming into a beautifully clean environment. So this is all just part of getting visible and getting exposure. This is the building your network. I have talked on other episodes about, visibility needs to be a part of your marketing plan. If people don't know that you exist, they can't hire you. If people don't know what you do, they can't refer you. But building these other relationships, because you just never know who you're going to meet and who they know. We've all got great stories about, I met this random person. And this was exactly how I got into leadership development at Johnson & Johnson. It was at a conference, a random meeting in an elevator. And it just sparked a great, funny conversation. And we exchanged business cards. And then I ended up working with him, doing some leadership development at Johnson & Johnson. So you just never know who you're going to meet. So get out there and build your network. If you don't have any meetings that are on your calendar right now, well, head on over to LinkedIn and reach out to some people that you've been connected with, but you haven't talked to them in a long time. A simple message to them that I can't believe it's been, 2, 3, 5 years since we spoke or we met at or we worked together at. Love to jump on a call and hear what's going on in your world. Just start the conversation. I think you'll be surprised at how many people also want to have those conversations with you. So till next time, I hope that you are having a great week and get out there and just build your network. I'll talk to you soon.